Hello, I'm David. How are you? I started this activity of talking to myself and recording it on a video camera in July of last year, July 2024, really out of frustration and burnout, frustration with work, frustration with being stuck doing a number of things I just don't want to be doing anymore. More specifically, work related than anything else. I'm very tired of working, and I don't particularly see the point to it other than to simply pay the bills. It is not very rewarding. I don't get any sense of accomplishment out of my job. It's kind of funny. At least when I was younger, I would always end up in some kind of social gathering of some kind, and someone would always ask me, "What do you do?" And, obviously the question means, what do you do for work? What is your job? What's your title? How are you gainfully employed? And then some years later, I worked at a auto parts manufacturing plant that was, they were fairly vendor agnostic insofar as we made parts for Kia, Toyota, Dodge, Jeep, Chevy, and some others. But while there, a number of people retired over the course of the few years that I worked at the manufacturing plant. And what I noticed is, these were folks that they had worked there 30 or 40 plus years. They had gotten to retirement age. Typically, they seemed to work at least to 65, if not beyond. I saw some working all the way towards maximum benefit at age 70, and then they would retire. And not all of them, but I did notice a number of them would retire, and then within a few weeks or a couple of months or so, they would pass away. And some of these folks would appear to be bored, for lack of a better term. And after they retired, they would occasionally come back by the plant, the manufacturing plant, and talk to old colleagues. And I would see them around sometimes. And they seem to very closely tie themselves and their identity as people to the job they did and to being employed at the manufacturing plant and having those relationships. They were, the tooling engineer or the quality assurance manager or, some line or shift supervisor that had been there for decades, and then they retire. And they did not have a purpose anymore to keep them going. And usually within a few weeks or a couple of months or so, they had passed away. So that made me think of how much people seem to tie identity or meaning or purpose in life to the job function, which they do over the course of their lives, or the career field they choose or whatever. how one defines themselves is by their job expertise on many instances or occasions. And then to tie that back into my earlier thought is, you know, ending up in social situations and someone I meet for the first time, they ask me, what do you do? And I don't know, personally I always found it kind of a odd question. Nobody asks me, who are you? I just go, so what do you do? Like what I fucking do has any sort of intrinsic value or is so inexorably tied to who I am, what I do. At least I don't think of, myself in that sort of a light, that I am a technology engineer or, a cybersecurity whatever, or a DevOps whatever. I don't think personally my title means much of anything to me because I don't tie what I do into and mix it with who I am. At least I don't think, because I just look at it as a problem. I am in a job or a career field where my career happens to be predominantly about solving problems in some way, shape, or form, managing systems, whether they be system or network or process oriented. At a more base level, I just solve problems. And it's not like if I don't have problems to solve or I don't have complex computer systems or network systems to architect, engineer, or maintain and manage, then I don't feel like me. Those are just things I do. And predominantly I do those things, solve problems, to get paid. And money is just the medium of exchange that is common enough to acquire and then use to get other things I actually want. So I exchange my time, labor, and knowledge for money, and then I can take that money and do something I actually want to do. It's, I'm not a system engineer or a network engineer, and if I stop doing that, I stop being me. I'm me first, and I'm doing these things just for the simple function of getting paid, so that I can make ends meet with the common means and medium of exchange. And at least personally, I don't, what's the best way to fucking say this? I don't need to do those things to feel fulfilled or to feel good about myself. I don't need to have those specific tasks, even though solving problems to some degree is at the core of who I am, and in the specific area of computers and technology is where I focus problem solving endeavors. That's where they line up. If I stopped doing that specifically with computers, I would just find somewhere else where I could still apply who I am at my core of problem solving or improving processes or so on and so forth. Whether it be like woodworking or bike repair or gardening or whatever sort of other interest. It doesn't have to specifically be computers or system network management or DevOps or automation or anything. I'm still who I am, regardless of the task I'm doing. So I just found that kind of odd or interesting that I've ran into a number of people in life where they seem to define themselves by what they do, what their occupation or title is, and who they are is like the afterthought or echo. Whereas, at least from my perspective, I think at my core, I am whoever I am fundamentally. And then the afterthought or echo is the more specific area of focus that follows who I am at my core, not the opposite. So I'm more interested, I think, in, when I meet someone, I want to know who they are at their core and belief systems or values rather than what they do. What someone does, at least in my perspective, is far less interesting than who someone is. And that is really my only thought for today. Who are you? Who are you? What do you do? And why is that the case?